Meet Erik. Erik starts every morning with high hopes and a full to-do list, but by 10 a.m. he feels a mental fog setting in, even though he hasn't done any heavy lifting yet. He isn't lazy, he is a victim of a silent antagonist known as environmental friction. This is the invisible resistance that accumulates when your physical space conflicts with your mental intentions. It acts as a drag coefficient on his success, creating a gap between what he intends to do and what his environment actually allows him to do. Today, we are going to fix Erik's workspace by applying the physics of friction to his psychology. We will look at why the mere presence of his smartphone, even face down, is actively depleting his working memory. Before we move furniture, let's look at the science. First, sources indicate that environmental friction increases cognitive load, which is the mental effort required to process information and override routines. When this load is high, we revert to the path of least resistance. Second, research on the habit loop mechanism shows that friction, like a locked bin or a cluttered desk, can completely destroy the cue routine reward cycle, causing you to abandon good habits entirely when fatigued. Finally, friction induction is a proven behavioral strategy where we deliberately add obstacles to stop bad behaviors, shifting decision-making from the impulsive brain to the rational brain. We are going to use these data points to rebuild Erik's life. To fix Erik's productivity, we need to view his workspace as a Skinner box, a controlled environment designed to condition specific behaviors. We are applying habit architecture, which recognizes that to consolidate a new choice, the environment must be structured to make that action the default. We need to manipulate environmental friction in two directions simultaneously. We must reduce friction for the work Erik needs to do, making it automatic, and massively increase friction for the distractions that derail him. We are moving beyond willpower. We are engineering a space where the cue for working is undeniable and the cue for distraction is invisible. Let's look at Erik's current baseline. It looks like a standard home office, but it is a minefield of environmental friction. Notice the open shelving with miscellaneous items? That is visual clutter competing for representational space in his brain. Notice the phone? It's not even on, but it's there. This setup creates cognitive friction, which is the mental resistance felt when processing too much information. Erik is spending finite energy just ignoring these items. He is fighting a war against his environment, and he is losing. Let's start the transformation. Step 1 is addressing aesthetic friction. This occurs when the sensory reality of an environment clashes with the need for focus. We are implementing closed storage solutions. By hiding visual clutter, we stop it from competing for the representational space in Erik's brain. Remember, humans are wired for efficiency. If the environment is chaotic, the brain works harder to filter out the noise. By clearing the desk, we reduce the activation energy required for Erik to start his actual work. Now, the only thing demanding his attention is the task at hand. Now for the biggest offender. Erik usually keeps his phone on the desk, face down. He thinks he's safe, but he's suffering from the brain drain effect. The mere presence of the device drains working memory because his brain has to actively work not to look at it. To fix this, we implement a strict no-phone zone in the workspace. This is a form of friction induction. We are deliberately adding distance, friction, between Erik and his digital dopamine dispenser. If he wants to check Instagram, he has to stand up and leave the room. We are making the bad habit hard. With the clutter gone, the room feels sterile. We need to add biophilic elements. Research indicates that viewing natural landscapes or elements is restorative, reducing mental fatigue and stress compared to built environments. We are adding a low-maintenance plant, perhaps a snake plant, which is tolerant of low light. This isn't just decoration, it's a productivity tool. By creating a restorative built environment, we actively replenish Erik's cognitive capacity rather than depleting it. Visually, we are set. But what about sound? Intermittent speech, like a television in the next room or a conversation down the hall, can slash performance because our brains are wired to decode language. To combat this sensory friction, Erik is donning noise-canceling headphones. We are designing the environment to reduce cognitive load. By blocking out irregular noise, we protect Eric's focus. This is part of creating a low-friction environment where the barrier to deep work is removed. In urban planning, traffic calming uses physical cues like speed humps or chicanes to force cars to slow down. We need to do the same for Eric's brain. We are installing digital speed bumps. This includes website blockers that require a 30-second wait before opening distracted sites. This is friction induction applied to the digital interface. Just as a chicane forces a driver to steer carefully, these digital barriers force Eric's brain to pause and ask, "Do I really want to do this?" Shifting him from automatic impulse back to conscious choice. We are halfway through rebuilding Eric's life, and if you are finding these tips helpful, take a second to smash that like button. It helps reduce the friction of the algorithm finding this video so we can help more people like Erik. If you know someone struggling with distraction, share this with them. Be the positive friction in their life that stops their bad habits. And don't forget to subscribe. We have 10 more slides that show exactly how this new setup changes Eric's brain chemistry. Let's get back to it. Humans have a strong status quo bias. We stick with defaults. Erik used to rely on willpower to ignore notifications. Now we change the default. His computer automatically enters Do Not Disturb mode during work hours. This removes digital friction, the subtle impediments that distract us. By changing the default, we make the sustainable, productive choice the path of least resistance. Erik doesn't have to choose to focus. The system chooses for him. We have successfully built our Skinner box. In the before scenario, the lever for distraction, the phone, was greased and easy to pull. The lever for work was rusty and covered in clutter. Now we have reversed the polarity. The environmental friction for work is near zero. The friction for distraction is high. Erik's brain, seeking efficiency, will naturally gravitate toward the work because it is now the easiest thing to do in this specific physical space. Let's watch the result. Erik sits down. There is no phone to check. There is no clutter to shuffle. The plant provides a soft visual rest point. The headphones block the world. He starts working immediately. This is what we call zero-friction mobility applied to productivity. We have removed the drag coefficient that was slowing him down. He isn't using more willpower, he is using less. He is surfing the wave of his environment rather than swimming upstream against it. What are the gains? Beyond the potential 15% productivity boost associated with biophilic elements, user prompt, Erik gains something more valuable: attentional sovereignty. He is no longer suffering from decision fatigue caused by constant micro-choices about distractions. By lowering the environmental friction, we have reduced his cortisol levels and increased his ability to engage in deep work. He finishes his day with energy left over, rather than feeling depleted by the mere act of trying to focus. A warning: environmental friction is entropic. It tends to return. Clutter creeps back. The phone finds its way back to the desk. This is habit decay. Erik needs to perform a weekly friction audit. He must ask, what in this room is fighting me? And what is making the bad habits easy? Just as cities maintain their roads, Erik must maintain his habit architecture. If he keeps the friction for work low and the friction for distraction high, the behavior will stick. Let's double down on the practical step of no phone zones. We applied it to the desk, but it applies to the bedroom and dining table too. This creates spatial friction against digital intrusion. By physically barring the device from these areas, Erik removes the cue from the habit loop. He doesn't need willpower to not check email at dinner if the phone is physically in the other room. This creates a low-friction environment for sleep and social connection, which in turn fuels his work performance the next day. Why were the headphones so critical? Intermittent speech is a specific type of distraction. Unlike a steady hum, intelligible words force your brain's language centers to activate, pulling resources from your task. This creates a cognitive load spike. If Erik can't use headphones, a white noise machine can help mask the intelligibility of the speech, smoothing out the acoustic environment to achieve soft fascination, a state where the environment supports attention without demanding it. To recap, we took Erik from a state of high environmental friction to a streamlined workflow. We used closed storage to hide visual clutter. We used friction induction to banish the smartphone and stop the brain drain. We added plants to restore attention and headphones to block acoustic interference. We built a physical space that respects the biological limits of Erik's brain. He isn't just working harder, he's working smarter by letting his environment do the heavy lifting. Now look at your own desk. Where is the friction? Is your phone within reach? That's friction against focus. Is your water bottle empty or far away? That's friction against hydration. Is your desktop cluttered? That's friction against clarity. Identify one bad habit you have and increase the friction to doing it. Identify one good habit and grease the wheels. Be the architect of your own Skinner box. If you want to dive deeper into the science of environmental friction, habit loops, and designing a life of least resistance, hit that subscribe button. And please like and share this video. It tells the algorithm that you value low-friction, high-quality content. Don't let your environment fight you. Make it fight for you. I'm Erik, and thanks for watching. Now go put your phone in the other room.